not sure what number episode of Walk with Webb this is, but I'm on my daily evening, get my steps in, motivational, whatever you want to call it. Okay? The wife's at work. I took her dinner. Number one thing when you're trying to anything from just change your physique, get in shape, or try and do a bodybuilding show like we're attempting to try and do and get ready for next year, is your eating has to be on point at all times. And having a spouse certainly helps out. Our lives are very hectic, just like anybody else's is, so when we can help each other out, we help each other out. I took her to work at 5, came back home, did a few things at home, then got myself ready and took her the car, dropped it off because she won't get out until 9 at night. And how I usually do it when I have to walk by myself and she has to work is I'll take her to work, do all the running around I have to do after work myself, and then cook her dinner, because who doesn't want a warm dinner? I mean, she could cook it and take it with her and eat it cold or cook it in a microwave, but a fresh warm dinner is always nice, especially when it's just a ground chicken patty and rice. And when I say ground chicken, I mean we buy the ground chicken from Sam's Club and we make the patties ourselves. We weigh everything out and then I cook it up for her. A 6 or 7 ounce patty basically takes about 15 to 16 minutes in the air fryer. You flip it halfway through, spice it like you like. Rice goes in the rice cooker. Did that probably around 4:30 or so. That was ready to go for both our dinners. I ate mine before I took her the car, dropped it off, dropped her meal off, so that on her break she could eat her dinner and not be a ravenous maniac when she comes home. And then I take off walking, which is when I'm able to get these walks with Webb in. So the topic I wanted to deal with tonight, it's something that's been messing with me a little bit, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. We all go through mental games, and we all go through struggles. And when you're trying to implement a new way of living, a new lifestyle into your daily habits, basically rearranging everything that you do to meet this goal, which is what several of our clients are learning, it's an extremely difficult thing. It's easy to have bad habits, and I've said this before, it's extremely easy to have bad habits. You grab the quickest thing to eat because your time is constrained, and we all know that that's not usually the most healthy choice, whether it's a gas station burrito, candy bar, and a pop, or a number 10 at McDonald's. Don't ask me what a number 10 is, I don't know. I'm just throwing a number out there. So trying to rearrange not just our lives, but our lifestyle, literally trying to do everything differently is hard, especially when a lot of those things in our old lifestyle we enjoy doing. Going home after work, sitting relaxing, having a snack before dinner, having a snack after dinner, having a snack sitting in bed watching Netflix. Am I hitting anybody's nerves? I know that was our habits for a long time. Sorry for any background noise from the vehicles. It's kind of busy tonight for some reason. But trying to implement a healthy lifestyle. Now, the wife and I have multiple times over through our little over 23 years of marriage have gone through get healthy, get out of shape, get healthy, get out of shape. And all through those different times and different ways that we went about it, different programs that we followed, diet plans, all these different types of things. One thing I'm beginning to realize is we learned a lot. We learned what not to do. We learned just how much of a fad so many things are that you pick up on and try out and works for a little while, and you can name any diet you want. You can name any program, exercise program, weightlifting program, CrossFit, strongman, Pilates, curves for women, whatever it is. All these different types of things. We've been through it, we've been there, we've done it, we've moved on, only to have fallen back off the wagon again. I'm going to try and cross the road without getting run over. And I'm sure anybody that's in our age, and again, the demographic that I am trying to be a help to is the over 35s. Again, our coaching, this channel, the podcast is for everybody that needs help in the world of lifting weights, eating right. And I've boiled it down to that, is lifting weights and eating right. Because I don't like to say just exercise, because a lot of people take that as, okay, well, I'll just go in my backyard or upstairs in my basement and do all my body weight stuff. And that stuff's all fine and good for a starting point. But our goal at Muscleology is to teach everybody that the way to get the physique and the healthy lifestyle and to keep that going until your very last day on earth, regardless of how old you are, is lifting weights, eating right, doing cardio. Lift, eat, repeat. Lift, eat, repeat. Okay? It's that simple. So one of our key points of doctrine, don't make it any more difficult than it already is. And what I mean by that is it's difficult enough to rearrange your lifestyle around the gym and eating properly. Especially when you might have a job in an office where every Friday is donut day, where they buy lunches 3 to 4 times a week, and it's never anything healthy. And you have to begin to develop the habit of turning that down and eating your chicken and rice, or your Caesar salad chicken with your fat-free Greek yogurt with ranch dressing. You know, all that kind of stuff. All these different things that you're doing now to implement a healthy eating habits. And there's a lot that goes with trying to simplify and changing your lifestyle. People are going to, and this isn't just for professional bodybuilders, you know, and it seems the more I'm into bodybuilding, and I've dabbled into all the other strength sports, and I've followed football, I know how sports are, I know how athletes are. Bodybuilding is the one sport that everybody looks at you strangely, because you have to eat a certain way, especially when you're 8 weeks out from a show, okay? You have to say no to things, you have to bring your own meals to family events and all these different types of things, and everybody thinks that you're strange, you're weird, you don't like them, all the different things that go along with it, the back talk, the talking behind your back is what I mean by back talk, you know. All these things go into, and let's say you're not doing a bodybuilding show. Just the fact that you want to start living a healthy life, not missing the gym, instead of going out with everybody on Friday nights, every Friday night, you want to be in the gym. Whatever it is that you're walking away from that led to the unhealthy habits, people are just going to look at you strange. They're going to be like, what, are you better than me? It's kind of like becoming a Christian, and there's things you no longer want to participate in, you don't want to be a part of, you don't want to condone. You're not out there beating everybody over the head with the Bible. You're kind of just avoiding certain situations, and even with family, you know. The Bible says itself that a prophet's never accepted in his own country, and that very much means that one of the last groups of people that will accept a different way of living than from what you grew up in, whether it's good or bad, is always going to bring jealousy, hatred, anger, resentment, mocking, everything that you can think of. And cleaning your lifestyle up and eating right and exercising, there I use that word, lifting weights, whatever it is that you do consistently, you're going to get made fun of. You're going to get mocked. There's going to be people turn away from you. You know, what you have to ask yourselves is, did they really love you to begin with? All of that comes down to their own insecurities. It comes down to the fact that they see you improving yourself. You know, this could be you decided to not go the way of the family or whatever, and you want to make something out of yourself. You want to have a completely different lifestyle than what you might have grown up with. The biggest supporters you should have is your family. Any way that you're trying to improve yourself, and when I say improve, I mean literally improve. I'm not condoning behaviors that will lead to your death or demise and things like that, okay? Any family that's worth anything is going to try and talk you out of that. I'm talking when you step out and finally say, you know what, I'm taking control. I'm going to rearrange my lifestyle so that I can look better, feel better, be better, or my career of choice that might not be what the family thought that I should be doing, and now here you are successful, making money, able to provide for your family well, and everybody else is bitter, envious, and jealous. And I'm not thinking of any family in particular. I'm just saying this is a general practice. This happens quite often. You know, you have the one or two inside the family that decide, you know what, I'm going to break the generational curse, if you will, and I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to provide for my children differently. And I'm going to take my health serious. Unlike all of my other family. My family were all smokers. They weren't heavy alcoholics, although there were quite a few of those on up the family tree. But immediate family, they weren't rabid drug users, pot smokers, and I'm not against marijuana, I'm not against alcohol either, I'm against the abuse of those things. None of that. They had a lot of other issues. Sometimes maybe I wish it would have just been drinking, but who knows, that's all in the past. But I'm getting to my point. We have all these things working against us when we're trying to improve, when we're trying to rearrange and completely change what we are, what got us to where we are, because we want to do better, be better, feel better, look better. On top of the fact that you go through your own internal, mental, emotional, and physical changes and challenges. It isn't easy, and there's a really good reason. Well, it's not a good reason, but it's a very understandable reason as to why people give up. Why the very first thing that most people give up on when they venture in to try it is health. Because it literally touches and affects every single aspect of your life. Your relationships, food relationships, family relationships, work relationships, friend relationships. It affects all of that. And there are going to be some that will be relentless in the teasing and the mocking when you sit down at a dinner and you see nothing that matches what your meal plan is, and you bring your own dinner. Now, instead of them looking at you and saying, hey, at least they're here, he or she is here, eating dinner with us, socializing, talking, doing everything else everybody else is doing, and he decided to bring his own meal. Now, you people that are against that, you are the ones with the problem. If somebody comes to your home or sits down with you at a restaurant, at a luncheon, or some kind of potluck dinner at the church, or whatever it is, and they bring their own food, they could just skip the event altogether and go on their merry way and not face all the ridicule and mock and everything else that comes with it, and just eat their food by themselves. But no, they chose to be there and socialize and be with you. So why don't you rearrange your way of thinking and make this lifestyle just a little bit easier on them? It's hard enough to do the battle of the demons within you that cause you to want to give up, to want to just eat crap and not exercise and not lift weights, not make it a priority to do your cardio, your steps, and get in the gym and lift iron. Okay? Be an encouragement to those people. Now, I don't know how many of those folks will be watching this video, but I'm sure there will be some. So I said all that to get to the point of the inner struggles that we face when we're at any step in this whole thing that we call living healthy lifestyle, which involves the food and the sleep, the hydration, the lifting, the cardio. It all goes together. And for the past couple of days, intensely, and I'm able to track it down as to why, I've been going through some mental challenges myself. And the reason I thought maybe it was important to do this talk is I want people to understand and be aware that just because you see people on social media, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whatever it is, and they always look happy, they always look like there's never any issues, they're just carrying on with their everyday life and they don't have any problems, and you know, they're not having any struggles mentally. Every day's peaches and roses. They get up, take their cold showers, plan their meals, eat nothing but good food, never miss the gym, never miss the cardio, always have a smile on their face. That's not the way it is in reality, okay? Every person that you see portray themselves in social media is the biggest fraud that there is, okay? And the fact that they won't show you the real side of what they're doing exposes how much of a fraud they really are. I want you to remember that, okay? Everybody goes through this because everybody is a human being and we all struggle with the same stuff. So for those older folks, my crowd, the 35 and above, okay, the ones who have either completely established their life or are on the verge of establishing themselves, because usually by 35 that's pretty much what has happened, and you're able to start taking your health seriously and taking it into your own hands and developing plans to put into place to eat right, train right, and all these types of things. It's a mental challenge at times. It really, really gets tough. Now, throw in the mix the idea and the fact that everybody that starts this new way of life, everyone that starts on this new way of life is in the same boat. The very first thing that they need to do 99.99% of the time, and that's not even a fabrication of a number, is lose weight, lose body fat, and start building muscle. Because you can be unhealthy and be skinny, the skinny fat. If you don't have definition and muscle tone and muscle mass and strength, you're not in shape, okay? It's not all about a look. We all know when you look at a person, and let's say they're 145, 155 pounds, which we would pretty much consider light for a male, and if they're average height. And we could look at one that's been in the gym and one that just lives regularly, might not eat crappy all the time, but he doesn't have a good diet of good amounts of protein, the right amount of protein, not lifting or anything like that. You can tell. Take their shirt off, you're going to tell who's been in the gym and who hasn't, who's more capable and who isn't of certain life situations. And that's not what this episode is going to be about. All right? My point is that just because you're only 145, 155 pounds does not mean that you're in shape. It just means that you're skinny with no muscle. And we need to fix that. So, regardless of where you are at, if you're at the beginning stages, if you're finally saying, you know what, I need to start taking this seriously, living for the future, which means I need to put on muscle mass, because there are so many benefits from having muscle mass. And here I am, I'm getting on a rabbit trail, but the benefits of having muscle mass, especially as you get older, thicker and denser bones, which means they won't break as easy. One of the number one killers of old people, you know, they break a hip, and before you know it, 3 weeks to 3 months later, they're dead. You know, and why is that? They become immobile, and it just cascades downwards from there. There's so many things that go into living healthy, and the simple fact of eating right and lifting weights fixes so many ailments, whether it's emotional pain, mental pain, the physical things that go on inside you externally and internally, all this. So much of it is fixed by eating right and lifting weights. And that's a reason why doctors, good doctors, that don't just believe in throwing pills at you because they make money and kickbacks off prescriptions. Good doctors will tell you, I want you to follow a good eating plan. And they won't tell you to jump on a fad diet. Good ones won't. They'll say just a well-balanced diet. That means the macros. That means the proper amount of carbs, proper amount of fats, and proper amount of protein. All right? All these fad diets that are out there, they're good for only so long. But the bad thing is that they can screw up your metabolism, they can screw up your blood work, create problems now that you might not discover until you get too far down the road and it's too late, on top of the fact that it doesn't develop good habits, because sooner or later you dump off those diet fads and you go right back to what you were doing before, whether it's zero or low carb. Eventually your body wants those carbs. It's just natural. It wants that glucose. The brain wants that type of stuff, okay? And you can starve it for so long from that and feed it with fat and protein and all that kind of stuff, but sooner or later you're going to break. You're going to give in somewhere. And usually when that happens, if you just open up an appetite and it becomes unstoppable. So then you just added another mental challenge. All right. Now again, that was a rabbit trail. What I'm driving at here is every bit of this. We as humans, we go through these mental challenges. We go through these struggles when we decide to fix things. But you know what? Stop for a second. Do you go through the mental challenges when you're unhealthy? Do you go through the days where you're just down and depressed and everything looks so big in front of you that you just can't seem to make any success, any headway anywhere? Do you ever go through that when you're not lifting, when you're not healthy, you're not eating right? Yeah, absolutely. The difference is, yes, you're going to go through those things mentally, but one of the things I'm learning through this whole, and I want to start doing a series here where it has everything to do with our journey to the bodybuilding stage. So yes, you go through mental stages, however you are in life, healthy or unhealthy, you're going to go through these mental challenges. And most unhealthy people are going through them because they feel bad about being unhealthy. But then, lo and behold, when you start getting healthy and things are going right, then you have bad mental days where you feel like it's a never-ending battle and you can never have anything good in life again. And both of those things are untrue. There's a difference between what me and my wife are trying to do in an actual bodybuilding show and what the typical everyday average male or female needs to do in day-to-day life. You can take the principles of a bodybuilder and not have to get up on stage, not have to go through the final 8-week prep, they call it, where you're basically skinning everything down and literally trying to be nothing but skin, muscle, and bone. You're literally trying to get as much fat off your body as you can. And that all sounds well and good, and you look at somebody on stage like, man, they look phenomenal, they look great. What nobody sees is the absolute misery that you have to go there to get that. Because I'll tell you this, when bodybuilders are on stage, oiled up, spray tanned, in their underwear, they are not healthy, okay? They are literally at starvation and death's door, just about. And some of them do cross the line and take too many things. And contrary to popular belief, it isn't steroids that are killing the bodybuilders. It's a multitude of other factors mixed with the fact that they're dehydrated and starving to death, and some other things that they use to get shredded. It isn't steroids. That's a lot more manageable than the other things that they're playing with. But we're talking on really high levels, professionals that do it for a living, trying to win championships and contracts and sponsorships and make lots and lots of money. Okay? Because you can do this sport without having to get involved with all of that. So, yeah, you can be a bodybuilder and not be somebody who cares about getting on stage. Bodybuilding is just that. It's building your body, creating a physique that you're happy with. And here's another thing I'm going to talk about, because this is another part of the mental struggle that both my wife and I go through. Inevitably, everybody that wants to get themselves into shape is going to compare themselves and pick a certain famous person, either whether an athlete, an actor, or an actress, professional sports, whatever it might be, model, and you're going to say, I want to look like that. Okay? Here's the problem with that, is every single human being's genetics are different. Okay? And you're not going to be able to look exactly like whoever it is that you picked. Now, you can use them as kind of a template in the direction that you want to go, but your body is only going to do what it is already pre-programmed to do. And what we need to teach you, and you need to understand as well as myself, is work hard, eat right, and whether you want to be big and massive and muscular at a healthy rate, or you want to be smaller and the toned, which tone is just muscle definition. You know, one of the first things that people are worried about when they start lifting weights is, I don't want to get too bulky. Listen to me, and I'm going to stop here to talk about this, okay? You are not going to get bulky simply by lifting weights. It's just not going to happen. the bulk comes from eating. And you're only going to get as big as much food you put in your mouth. That's how this works. So to all the men and women that are too afraid of getting too big, too bulky, which to me, that's not something I ever worried about. I wish I could be a big, what they call mass monster. I wish I could be 270 pounds at 12% body fat, okay? But that's not healthy, okay? It's not healthy on the heart to carry around that much muscle. Even if you're 6'5" and you're 300 pounds and you're only 10% body fat, the joints and the bones and the heart, it's a lot of work for those parts of your body that continually having to bear the weight of that. And that's why you see all these professional athletes, whether they're strong men or bodybuilders or football players, when they used to be big ripped giants, when they get older, up into their 50s and 60s, if they're really concerned about their health, they realize, okay, I got to dial the eating in, I got to lower the calories, I got to change the way I train, because I want to be around for a long time. So we can help you get bulky if that's what you want, okay? I'm only going to promote and push you so far as it's healthy for you. We're not here to train professional athletes. I don't care about getting somebody on a bodybuilding stage. I have a coach to help me with that, okay? Because if you're going to compete, regardless of how good a coach you are, and there are some out there that coach themselves, but usually they end up going to a coach because there are aspects of preparing for a competition that you want somebody else to take responsibility for, especially if you have a lot of your own responsibilities, work, family, if you have your own coaching business, you have clients, those types of things. All these things that we're learning, okay? So that's why me and my wife have a coach, and we will be bringing him on full-time probably the second week of February. That gives about 20 to 25 weeks to prepare for a show around mid-August, late August of next year, 2027. And that's why we've taken all this year to strip down as much body fat as we possibly can to get us into a holding weight and then start building up, okay? But with all that said, my point is that I don't want you folks to think you're going to get big, bulky, and ridiculous looking simply by lifting weights and eating right. It's not going to happen. You have to eat a tremendous amount of calories in order to get the size that you probably have inside your brain. And being on a cut, that's not going to happen. Second, third part of the mental struggles that I've been going through is leaning out. Now, coming from the world I did of powerlifting, strong man, wanting to be big, strong, and massive, thinking anything underneath 250 pounds was just too small, those type of things. That was difficult, changing the way I trained, worrying about more reps and not being as strong as I possibly could, wrapping up the joints because everything was hurt, everything was torn, everything was out of joint, all these type of things. Training had become miserable for me simply because I knew, okay, I got to get out in that gym and I got to put 500 pounds on my back. I have to lift a 250 pound stone off the ground. I have to do all these really hard things that are extremely difficult, and they injure me almost every time that I do it, regardless of how smart I'm being. And a lot of that was an extreme mental challenge to overcome. And you are going to have to overcome the same type of mental challenges from wherever you're coming from, for whatever point you're starting at. You're going to have these mental challenges, and they don't just automatically go away when things start being successful. The first 3 months of my calorie cut was extremely difficult because for a while it doesn't seem like you're making progress. So you're sitting there telling yourself, man, I'm hungry, I'm training my butt off, all seems for nothing. And then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and you're like, whoa, okay, now I'm somebody that has severe body dysmorphia, and I know that probably sounds weird for a man to say it. It always seemed weird for me to say it about myself, being a male. But it's true. You know, ever since I was a kid, and there's multiple reasons as to why I think this way, I've had body dysmorphia. I've always been worried about how I look in any situation. And at times, you know, even when I gave up on that and got so busy and was way out of shape, it still never left me. So now that it's the completely opposite, going in the other direction, there's still the body dysmorphia. Where does it end? Now I'm not big. Now I'm not strong. Now I look too skinny, too lean, too thin. And all the little comments that people make at times, you know, I don't want to say they hurt, but they do affect you mentally. They affect me. And every one of us go through this in one way or another. Okay, and I'm going to try and wrap these up because I'm trying to keep these under 45 minutes, so I got 15 minutes left to go here. All of these are mental struggles, hurdles that I go through personally and I've been going through. In the last couple of days, 2 or 3 days, it's been extremely difficult, and here's why. When I began this cut, this whole journey into being prepared for a bodybuilding show, we started my calories at about 2,700. I kept them at that for a good 6-8 weeks. Then I slowly titrated down. I jumped down to, I believe it was like 2,550, kept it there for a few weeks. Then I jumped down to 2,400, just really slow increments. This time I was doing it, I didn't want to be stupid and rush the whole process and lose a bunch of muscle and end up just a skinny bag of bones, all right? By doing it the smart way, I was able to see how my body reacted to things and was able to train my body to do what I wanted it to do, began to see things that we needed to work on by doing it the right way. And the days of me trying to take off 5 to 8 pounds in a week are over because it's just not healthy. That's what I did way back in 2017 when we jumped on keto. I lost 50 pounds in 10 weeks. You're talking, that's 5 pounds on average a week. But sometimes it would be 8 pounds a week. Sometimes it would be 3 pounds. Okay? So at the end, it averaged itself out, but still. But if you look at pictures of me back when I was on keto, I just looked like I had cancer. It was just terrible. But you get caught up in that, and the way I am, so goal oriented, and I keep stripping down and stripping down. I wasn't looking at the bigger picture until finally I crashed. But anyway, these are all part of the mental things that you're going to go through when you change your lifestyle, when you reinstitute practices that keep you healthy, keep you moving forward. So as of 2 weeks ago, our coach had me jump our calories back up to bump mine back up to 2,700. Now I had them all the way down to 2,100 sometime. All right, I thought I cleaned up everything off my phone good enough to not have to go through this stupid not enough storage issue, but I guess not. So I will be fixing that soon. Going to be getting a bigger phone with more storage on it as we continue to move forward. But anyways, let me start wrapping this thing up. The last few days I've been going through quite a bit mentally up here, trying to get into the social media coaching, building a podcast, building a YouTube channel, trying to direct people to our coaching, trying to put a presence out there in the community of a coaching business, all in the midst of trying to get ready for a bodybuilding show and being on a calorie cut, raise a family, although our kids are all older now except for our youngest, she's 15, getting ready for a wedding that my daughter's going to have here August 22nd, which is just about 3 weeks away, if that, 2 weeks from this Saturday maybe, which is kind of crazy. That is a huge amount to take on, while at the same time trying to remain healthy physically and mentally and emotionally. It just is. It's a huge undertaking. And when I stop to think about it, it's a wonder that I haven't given up on everything, and my wife as well. She's more of a saint than me because she has to put up with me. We both do pretty good for trying to be there each other and help each other out, and realizing the situation and what might be causing us to fall off the edge a little bit. So we're usually there to catch each other, do what's necessary, help each other out here. Maybe you just need a Snickers, although that's not what we do. But you get the idea. So the reason I wanted to make this video tonight, the reason why this was all kind of laying heavy on my heart, is it finally all just kind of caught up with me today, especially this morning. I really started having a pity party on myself, kind of thinking that it's time to just give up, throw in the towel. Maybe I'm trying to enter a world that isn't meant for me. Maybe just keep my mouth shut, do my job, hang out with my wife, provide for my family. Well, just did it to me again, folks. So being there to help each other, if I can pick up where I remember where I was at, being there for each other, trying to get through all this, thinking that I don't belong, even trying to create platforms and be involved in something, maybe just keep my mouth shut, keep to myself, love my wife, hang out with her, all that kind of stuff. But then I sit there and think about, that's not me, that's not my mentality. I don't like quitting. There's more to me than just doing those things. And I'm trying to build something for me and my wife so that even before I retire in 10 years, because that's the plan, even before that, I'm trying to build something to where, as our kids are now all older, we have one left that's basically dependent upon us. And she's 15, going to be 16. We need to start developing and putting things into place where our hobby becomes also something that we can do full time. It brings in a little bit of money, which isn't even the biggest thing for me. It's more of this will keep us busy, give us a purpose, be with people, reach out to people, help people, because that's what drives me, is helping people. We've been through a lot in the last 3 years, and I mean a lot. More than any married couple should have to be through, okay? But we're not the only ones. So I'll end with this. In the midst of it all, I come to understand it would have been easy just to throw in the towel and quit, go get something to eat, something I haven't had in a long time, whatever it is, Popeye's fried chicken, whatever, and go to the gym maybe once or twice a week like the old days when we fell off, quit the social media thing, and just go home, sit on the couch after a hard day's work of struggling with all the things that we have to struggle with at our jobs, and sitting on the couch until it's bedtime. That would be easy, but I know what would happen. I would feel like a failure. I would be even more depressed that I quit way too prematurely and didn't give it the best that I could, especially on top of the fact that I'm trying to tell other people not to quit. How can I quit and not at least do everything I can to reach the goals I've set? And some of them might be unattainable. I don't know. But somehow, some way, I know it will all work out. If I continue to work hard, it might mean I have to change my view on a couple things. Might have to change the route or the road or the way I'm doing it. That's all part of the learning process. But the main point is not giving up, okay? And that's what I want to tell everybody here tonight, is regardless of what goal you're setting for yourself, regardless of how far off you are right now from your health goal, I don't care. You need to start. Get a good program, get a good plan, get a good coach, whatever it is to get you where you're trying to go. And then when you finally get and arrive to where you want to be, continue to do all the good things that got you there so that you stay there. You don't reach a goal and then everything stops and you can stay where you're at for the rest of your life. No, you got to keep on doing those same things for the rest of your life so that you can have the look, the health, everything that you're driving towards, the job, the career, whatever it is that you have a goal for. So with that, my main focus, my main point, my main message to everybody tonight is don't